Hi guys, and welcome to today's task. For today's task, I am going to be filling in this wall right here. The original edition had this be kind of a bigger room right here, but we're gonna take this space and add it to the master bedroom, and so I need to close off this wall. In order to do that, we got to do a few things. I first have to put the sill plate in and secure it to this wall. When you build a house and put a foundation in, you put these bolts in. These have been smashed down and broken because they built over top of this, but these used to stick up, and that's how you bolted this wall to this frame. Well, they've been destroyed. We can't use them anymore, but we need to put a piece of wood down. When you put this mud plate or sill plate down, or bottom plate, whichever you call it, it has to be a treated lumber because it's going to be connecting to concrete, so we want to make sure that it can handle getting wet if it does, or it can absorb just a little bit of moisture, because most likely you'll have moisture but the concrete. But before we put that down, we need to put a moisture wicking barrier, which is this foam. So you simply just lay this in place and unroll. Now I realize we have some gaps here. We're going to keep these gaps because utilities are still going to be coming through this wall at some point, and I'm going to use those holes. They'll be okay. This isn't a difficult task at all, but it is critical to put this down before you put any piece of lumber on it. It just helps protect it, becomes a vapor barrier, and it's really just about keeping moisture away from where we don't want it in our walls, and this helps with that. Next, we'll take a measurement from one wall to the next. $112 inches and a quarter. This is my top and bottom plate, and these are my studs over here. This is going to go against that concrete. In this board, you see these little cuts and notches. Those are there so that the treatment that they apply to this lumber can absorb in really, really well. And if you feel the weight of this board compared to this one, it's about double the weight. So it's wicked up that treatment that will help this to not rot and be a little more protected. That's why this one is our mud seal. Now with our mud seal cut, we can set it in place. Now we'll just concrete drill this and tack it in. With the J-bolts, there technically was only 2 in here because there's only 2 within a 6-foot span, which is what code is. Because these are a little bit smaller grade and I have the ability, I'm gonna try and put 4 of them in here just to secure this board down really, really well. We'll go one close to the end, one close to this one's end, and then I'm gonna come off 3 feet on each of those. 3 feet on this one actually puts me in one of those holes, so we're going to come back just a little bit further than 3 feet. Maybe we'll just come back to here. Okay. And normally I would just drill them all, but because this board will kind of wiggle a little bit, I'm going to drill this one, set it, that way the board won't move any further. Now our mud plate is in and we are ready to start framing this wall, which is the whole point of this whole video, was to show you how to frame a wall 16 on center. I'm going to kind of skip a couple steps, but they're steps that I think are simple, but I'll just briefly go over them. I got 2 dimensions. I got the width of this and the width of the top, and I got the average of the 2. I don't want to try and justify one or the other. If one's slightly bigger than the other, you need to make sure you're averaging the 2 or going to the smaller size so that your wall is square. You might have a gap, that's okay. So I need that dimension first. This one and this one, 1 dimension. Second dimension, I need the height from the bottom of the beam to the mud plate. Now here's the tricky part. That second dimension I have to minus 3 inches from, because that is the width of our top and bottom plate. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If not, you will learn the hard way. You need to know the dimension of your width, then you need to know the dimension of your height minus 3 inches, and that will be how your wall is going to fit. Okay, I did not want to bore you guys with another saw cutting montage, because you guys are here for information, and I'm going to give you the information that I have, or the lack of information that I have. In the opening, I said you got to take a floor to ceiling measurement, and then you have to do one critical step, which is minus 3 inches. This is your top and bottom plate. I've got them stuck together for right now, and I'll show you in a minute. But that together is 3 inches. So the measurement that I took was 79 5/8. And if I take my stud plus those 3 inches, I get exactly 79 5/8, which is exactly what I want. I have my top plate and my bottom plate lined up, and we're gonna mark them at the same time, but I wanna show you some tricks with your tape measure. First, if you notice, every foot you have a big black arrow that marks every foot. 2 foot, 3 foot, and so on. Let's go back to the beginning. At 16 inches, you have a red mark that is highlighted. 16, 32, 48, and your 4 foot and 48 inches obviously are the same thing, and they line up together. But let's go a little bit further. All the way to, say, 8 feet. At 8 feet, we find special markings. Our red mark, our black mark, and in the middle of that black mark, there is a little diamond. And that represents the 3 different ways that you can line out your studs. You can line them out at 16 on center, you can line them out at 19.2 on center, or at 24 inches on center. And at 8 feet, all 3 line up, no matter how you've laid out your studs. That is because all sheeting usually comes in 4 foot by 8 foot dimensions, and that allows that sheeting to land on those studs properly. We are only gonna worry about the 16 on center today, and I'm gonna show you how to lay that out properly. Typically, people assume that you just come down to 16 inches and make a little mark, and boom, then you have your 16-foot stud location. That is incorrect. You want 16 to be the center, so you come back to 15 and a quarter. You always minus a quarter of an inch. And then if you want to show the opposite side of your stud, you come to 16 and 3/4. And those are the new sides of your stud. That way, from wherever this wall starts, you have 16 on center, and you'll do the same all the way down. So I'm going to continue down to my 16 and a quarter minus 3/4 of an inch is where my first stud's going to go. Then down to 32 minus 3/4 of an inch. 48 minus 3/4 of an inch. 64, and so on. Now I'm going to take my speed square and line up the first line on all of them across both studs. If you notice that our end, we're not quite an inch and a half away. So when I do this stud, I'm just gonna go from this very end and come in. So we'll be just inside of 16 on center, but our sheeting will line up just fine for our sheetrock. Okay, we can take this bottom plate and top plate, separate them out. Before we start nailing any of these, we need to do one thing. We need to crown all of our wood. Wood will always come with either a bow up or a bow under, and you want the bow under down, which is called crowning up. Crown up every time. The nails that I'm using are a 3" by 1.31, which is code and okay for these. They're not quite a 16 penny nail, but these are what you're supposed to use. Okay, when framing, you want to remember 2 things. You want to line up your pencil marks. This one's going to line up with the edge of this board, but also you're going to hold the board close. Don't hold it right here, because if you are to nail and the nail shanks the side, you will go right through your hand. It will happen. So hold back just a little bit. And 2 nails every time. And now you know how to frame and assemble a wall 16 on center. Now let's put this bad boy in place. came over a lot easier than I thought it was going to. You may have to finesse it a little bit to get it into place. Now, I'm not sure if it's this piece of wood or this piece of wood that's just way swampy, but they're all over the place. So I'm gonna try and kind of get the average with my square and see where they're at, because neither of them are really sitting great. Then we're gonna work down this wall as well. Now, when you nail the bottom of your wall and the top of your wall in place, you need to be nailing 2 nails at every stud, and I put them at the studs so that way I'm not in the way of any utilities that are gonna come through this. If I go right in the middle, it's most likely I'm gonna make a utility person pretty angry, which will be me on this project. So I'm gonna save myself some trouble now and just keep my nails out of the way. Okay, you guys, I can't believe it, but we just created our first room in this house. This is one of the first walls to go up, and I'm pretty excited about it. You are now standing in what will be our new utility / mud room. Washer and dryer, cubbies. From this side of the wall will actually be the back of the bathroom. This is gonna be a really cool space when we're done. Now you know how to build a wall, and hopefully if you're gonna partition something off in your home, you're capable of doing it. Maybe you wanna close off something somebody opened up a little bit a long time ago. Go ahead and do it. Give it a try. It's not that difficult. You're gonna be happy with the results, and you'll really enjoy the sense of accomplishment that comes from doing your own projects at home. If you guys liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you wanna be reminded every time I put out a new video, hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button. I'll leave a link for all the tools I use in the description down below, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye guys. Hi guys and welcome. Hi guys and welcome back. There isn't anything really technical about that allow the... So when I was over there, I said you have to take the bottom to top. So when I was... Now when you mark them, there's a few different... When you mark your studs, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can do a... and that is how you... And now you know how to assemble. Now you know how to